Welcome to another episode of Scaling with Words podcast, where we're talking all things about words and what it can do for your business and for yourself. I'm excited to have our first guest of this new season, of this new transformation of the podcast, to be you, Darren. I am so excited. So fill us in a little bit about you and what your job is and how you've created this whole adventure of what you've got going.
Right, adventure. That's a great word for it. So my name is Darren Brown. My business is called Advantage Business Consulting. So to just get straight to the point, there's a problem. The problem is there's a lot of us entrepreneurs that are spending a lot of money on ads, a lot of us that get a lot of likes and shares, a lot of exposure, but the sales and the money is not following the exposure. So that's simply what I do. I see a lot of podcasters and professional athletes, music entertainers that are trying to monetize their digital presence to a higher level. So that's what I do. How can we create a sales funnel, or, maybe a speaking engagement or a consultation, or how do we put some sales and some money behind your digital, image and your exposure online? And that's pretty much what I help people do. So they don't have to spend $100 million on Facebook ads and Instagram ads, and, they're not mad because, they're not going viral.
I'm not going to lie. I wish I had you about 3 years ago when I started my entire business and adventure. I probably would have saved myself a lot of struggles and a lot of difficulties. But how has sharing your own experiences impacted your business and in turn, made what it is now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I learned this trial by fire, and in social media and just the age we're living in, it's a lot of uncharted waters. There's not a lot of laws for stealing somebody's content, or you can't get a degree in, in social media marketing specifically for entrepreneurs. There's just a lot of gray area. And I just feel like there's a huge space, especially I feel like there's a little bit of a rivalry between big corporations and small business owners online. And I feel like the corporation is just below the small business owners away sometimes on a marketing standpoint. And I hate to see that happen as a entrepreneur myself. So to answer your question, I think that just being in a position where, I know I've got a good brand voice, I know what I'm talking about, but somebody swallowing a goldfish is going viral. And I'm trying to help people, and then somebody dumping a bucket of water on their head is going viral. So my biggest mission is how can I even the playing field so we can us entrepreneurs can make some money, from all these likes and shares and these, millions of views and all this exposure. How can we actually, monetize it, in a business sense? So that's what I've been able to do for my business,
I love that, because that's one of the things that I continue to sit here going, that you can do stupidity and make millions, and I am trying to change the world and can get 2 views. Help me out here.
Right.
And I don't, and I've been doing this for a little bit, and I even help others do this. And I'm like, why? This doesn't rhyme or reason. There isn't. I don't always feel like there is one. But what advice do you have for those business owners on making their words be shown or making their business get seen? What kind of advice do you have for us to kind of take away for quick sake?
Well, I think the biggest thing is actually understanding the business behind social media. So a lot of common mistakes I see are things like brands being inconsistent. So, today somebody's a podcaster, and tomorrow they do taxes. The day after that, they do wedding photography. And the day after that, they're a pilot. And the day after that, they're a dog walker. And their brand is just all over the place. So I feel like your social media now is like your digital resume. It's a lot deeper than just, remember how when it first came out, we just were playing around and talking to our friends, and it didn't have as much business impact as it does now. So being consistent with your brand, I love your podcast because you're right on the money, and that's why I wanted to come on, because I think you're crushing it. So that, another thing too is having a proper sales funnel. If you're in front of 1 million people, where do you tell them to go? And if you think of traditional advertising, click the link in the description below to book your consultation. Call now for a free quote. there's always a strong call to action at the end. And I feel like a lot of small business owners that don't do that leave a lot of money on the table by not having a proper sales funnel. One last thing, another one I see often is entrepreneurs sending your viewers in the social media circle, I call it. So follow me on Instagram, now follow me on Twitter, now follow me on TikTok, now follow me, but never from Instagram to the product to your website. That's the pipeline should be from social media to purchase. So these are just a few things common things I see entrepreneurs making mistakes. And honestly, that does add up to a lot of money. If you just think about your podcast and how many people have watched your podcast from day one till now, and if you just converted 2% of those people on a $99 product, it'd probably be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying you personally, but just in general, I say that to my clients all the time because your viewer audience is so massive when you think about it over time.
And it really is. And I think I've seen that the biggest impact in my podcast and the podcasting world as a general statement is where I'm seeing a lot of that you're speaking to the people that want to hear it. It's not just, my husband calls it thumb fucking. It's not just that space, right? Yeah. We're not just like messing around or boredom. Like people are coming for a purpose. They're looking at certain industries. They're looking through certain things. And so they're thriving and thirsty for information. And why would your voice not be the thing that they get to hear? And just as you said, I fully agree. If you could even convert 2%, I mean, it could make exponential amounts. And so, I mean, hence why I shifted my podcast from one avenue to the other, because I left one industry and I joined another one. But I mean, we can all use that. Now, do you have any advice on, okay, we're having mediocre success, right? Like we're putting out content, we're doing stuff like that, but how do I shift into maybe that podcasting realm, where how do I take my brand and I take it to that next level to get the exposure that you're talking about of being able to make this business scalable and better than what it currently is doing for you?
Well, I think for podcasters in general, I think that just a podcast is such a privilege to have, to be in a position to have people that relate to you. You know what I mean? It's not just a bunch of just random views on a radio. You have people that are tuning in that love your style, that connect with what you're saying. And I think we have an ethical responsibility, to take good care of those people. So I am careful with who I collaborate with. So I wouldn't just say collaborate with just anybody, but to answer your question, I've always found that getting to the next level is really being able to collaborate a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So let's say maybe collaboration with T-Mobile, collaborating with a major corporation. Hey, I like to speak as a subject matter expert, or collaborate with another podcaster that might have millions of people, because sometimes they just got to give you a chance to work with you. And at the same time, as our brands, get bigger, there'll be smaller brands that want to collaborate with us, and we got to kind of pass it forward. But now being able to navigate the business deal, to be able to put that together, that's a little tough for some podcasters because you get so much into the business side of things. It can take you outside of what your industry, you're actually an industry expert in. So if you're doing fishing videos, for example, collaborating with T-Mobile on a podcast deal may be outside of your area of expertise. So I say definitely get with somebody that knows business, knows how to set those kind of deals up. But that will definitely take you to the next level for sure.
Awesome. And so I know that some people are like, I can do this at home, right? I have heard it plenty of times being a podcast producer. People are like, I know how to do it. I can do it at home, or they try to wing it and figure it out.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the difference, I guess maybe the difference of having it by yourself and doing it at home versus taking something like a podcast producer or someone like you who's going to know the ins and outs a little bit harder, and can take your brand and just expanded exponentially.
Goes a long way. And I think some people are skeptical because, it's a very niche space. So there's not really a lot of people that specialize specifically in marketing and branding, a podcast specific, or it's still a smaller number of people. And even whatever discipline you're in, if you really think of all the internet, and if you really break it down to what you do, even in my fitness clients, it's really not a lot of fitness channels. I know it sounds crazy, but if you really think of all the views and all the channels, even for fitness, it's still a tiny, tiny portion. But I would say, to save you the headache, I've been the person that's trying to tape a poster board on my wall for a green screen, and I'm trying to use a light from Home Depot to get the proper lighting. It saves you so much time and so much energy. And I wish I had, somebody like me where I say, look, let me pay you $250. Show me how to work this out for the next 3 months. It would have saved me so much time and energy. And also, I think there is a difference between people that want to podcast, as a hobby, or ones that are serious about monetizing. Those are two totally different worlds. And you have to be clear on what your expectations are and where you're trying to take your podcast, in my opinion. Because if you don't have that right, you're going to be frustrated because you put money down, but I don't care because it's just a hobby, or you're not spending the money you should be, and you're trying to monetize. So I think definitely getting with somebody like yourself or me will just save you so much time and, energy in the long run.
I agree. I mean, it's so true. It is so true. Setting your intentions, I think, is something that a lot of business owners have a tendency to forget.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, I know what I want to do, right? Like, I know my intentions by putting X, Y, and Z out, or by creating this. But if you're not crystal clear on your actual intentions with said item, it's not going to convey itself. And then the expectation, you kind of feel down, right? You can have that expectation, negativity come from it and be like, well, that was a letdown and a waste of time, when really it was just a matter of like tweaking 3 things, and it could have easily monetized for you and done exponentially for you. But I think I've learned from my own, from a few failed attempts of my own,
same.
is the external perspective. So many times as entrepreneurs, we come in and we're so laser focused. We are so almost too close.
Yeah, it's true.
That we can't see the whole thing. I had somebody tell me it's like taking a magnifying glass to a story, and you're reading the book through a magnifying glass, and all you're seeing is this really small little line when the book is massive.
That's a good one. I'm gonna steal that one.
Right? And it's being able to remove ourselves and see the whole big picture,
right,
and have that big picture broken down, I think is something that is super important when we forget as business owners that it's okay. I see your laser focus and I love it, but let's remove that lens for just half a second and see the big picture.
I was just going to say, to add to that is, and I have to do this too, is you got to have a little bit of humility and know what's just not your thing. I hate building websites. I hate anything website coding related. I don't want anything to do with it. I hate accounting. I don't want to look at any numbers. I hire an accountant. But I have to be able to say, okay, listen, Darren, even though I might not be able to hire, a team of 200-300 people, let me get 1 or 2 experts in here that are really good at doing the thing that I know I suck at doing, and that was kind of starting point for me in building my team, is building somebody in, bringing somebody in that's an expert, and paying them a few bucks. I mean, don't have to, it doesn't have to cost thousands and thousands, but you pay an expert a few bucks, it'll take you a long way. So yeah, for sure.
Agreed. 100% agree. I mean, even just finding a program that, like, you and I don't want to deal with the accounting side, but I mean, QuickBooks does it for me. Like, put it all through there. My accountant gets it at the end of the year. I call it a day. I have all the things, right? Like, I can, and it's understanding that as an entrepreneur, we have to delegate. We can't be an expert at everything as much as we would love to be an expert at everything. It takes away from what we're really good at. And I mean, I just did that recently. I mean, I can make graphics exponentially if you want me to. But I hired a graphic designer to join my team, and she does the graphic designing for all my clients' podcasts. It's her expertise. That's what she's really epic at. I'll produce, you create, put it together, wonderful team, right? Like, not saying that I can't do it. I just, I'm better in another place, and that's okay.
Right, same with me. Same.
Yeah. So, Darren, how do we get in touch with you, and be able to learn more about expanding our brands and getting in touch with you in general? How do we get in touch?
Yeah, so I'm on all over social media, DarrenBrown.ceo. I think you put DarrenBrown.ceo, I think I'll pop up pretty much anywhere. And then I really try to collaborate and work with my clients and not take them to the bank. So I have a free 15-minute consultation. If you want to jump on a call and you have a few quick questions. I don't have a lot of those slots because I learned that the hard way, and I got 890 free consultations. And so I did learn that the hard way, but I do have a few slots for free consultations. If you just want to jump on, hey, Darren, a couple questions, DarrenBrown.ceo. I'm sure you have everything tagged in the links and stuff like that. But yeah, Darren Brown Business, Darren Brown CEO, you can't miss me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Darren. I am excited to be able to, if you're a listener, make sure you're going and following Darren. You're following me, because I know I will be sharing all over my socials of Darren and what's going on in his world. And we will continue to conversate. I know that we will. We'll probably be back together again, and being able to chat again. But make sure you're following Darren. Make sure you're following the podcast and listening for more, because I know that we're going to bring on other business owners, other experts within their industries to be able to chat more about how to expand your business and take your business to the next level, and using your gifts to change the world, because we can. So thank you, Darren, again for being here, and we will be talking to everyone soon.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.